Welcome back to 140K, where I cut through all the property nonsense and I just give you my review of an investment suburb under 500, under $450,000. And one suburb that caught my mind was Gladstone. All the indicators, all the short-term indicators suggest that Gladstone will become a very hot market, and it's pretty much heating up at this very second. And I want to run through a number of factors and metrics that indicate this, as well as what my thoughts, opinions are about its economy, about its industry, and whether maybe you should invest your money or not. And so watch through till the end of the video, because it is completely important that you grasp all the concepts and all the ideas that I'm saying in this video to make an informed decision about whether or not you'd want to invest into Gladstone. Just to give you a bit of background, Gladstone is a regional town in Queensland. It's just south of Rockhampton and south of big investment suburbs like Mackay and Townsville, which are all popping off at this very moment. Queensland and regional Queensland is becoming one of those suburbs where people are just flocking to because they can no longer get into the Perth property market. And because of that, one of the suburbs that's looking very positive at the moment is Gladstone. Now, there is quite a few orange flags about Gladstone, but there's also very many green flags about Gladstone in the short term, and I want to run through those numbers for you. Obviously, do your own research about the sites that I use. One of the sites that I do use is just Broomscore. It's a free resource out there, and you should always cross-reference a lot of these resources just to make sure that you're getting the most accurate data as possible. Another important one to use is DSR. I use that personally, but I can't share that data with you free on YouTube because it is a paid source, and if I share it with you, then I most likely will get my account kicked off, which I need for my work. So the first thing I want to do is when you look up Gladstone or Gladstone Central and the nearby suburbs, as you can see here, when you first look at it, there's quite a few suburbs in this area, and it has its own regional airport, which is good to see, and a couple of different suburbs like Clinton, Newell, Auckland, Kincora, and South Gladstone are all suburbs that are looking very investable at this stage. And I'm going to explain why, and we're going to look at the data metrics for that. And when we look at the data metrics for something like Gladstone Central, which is very close, and there are a couple of indicators that I look at too very clearly. And the first one is days on market. The quicker it takes to sell a property in a suburb, it means the housing market is heating up. And we can see in 2023 of May last year, it took 131 days to sell. And that has slowly and consistently dropped over the past few months. And in the past couple of months, it's dropped down drastically to about 58 days, which means that market is heating up rapidly. And this might continue to drop, may flatline at 58 days, but at 58 days, it's selling within 2 months or a bit shorter than 2 months as well, which is very positive signs of a heating up market, which means there will be price growth. And it's not only just that. When we look at the stock on market, we're looking at 0.72%, which is basically or barely enough stock at this very stage. It's less than 1%. The state average is 7%. And this sort of trend has stayed steady over the past year with 1% levels, which is very good. If it's rising up, for example, that's not ideal. We wouldn't want a suburb that is rising up in terms of trend. We want it to sort of flatline in stock level markets or go declining. The other good indicator is of a heating up market is what I would say is vendor discounting, right? We say it's at -8% now, but what we need to look at is the trend over the past year. And we can see it's gone from -12% to about -8% over the past year. And this trend, as long as it's going up, that's a good sign, right? If it's close to zero, that means you're not getting any discounts. And normally, when you're selling a property, you normally give like a 5% discount or 2% discount. And the fact that this is heating up means that people are buying it at higher prices than vendors will normally discount it at. So that's another very good sign of a heating up market. And this vacancy rate is basically non-existent. It's 0.65, meaning that you will find tenants almost instantly when you advertise that property. That means you can expect rental returns almost instantly, which is good to see, which is what we want in a hot market. Now, this online search interest data isn't very accurate. You can see it's kind of all over the place. We would still need to see more consistency with it, but you can check out other sources like DSR. SQM research will help you with that. So that gives you an idea of the actual metrics itself when we're looking at data. Now, this is very high level. There is more metrics that you can go into and dive into to make sure that this sort of property is ideal to as a hot market, but this gives you the overarching view that says that Gladstone is a very hot market, or it's heating up to become a hot market. And if these trends continue to flow down, the prices will only go up. So we can see that on the sort of trend side of things, that this sort of Gladstone area is heating up, and suburbs like Clinton, New Auckland, Kincora, South Gladstone are places that where investors are looking at purchasing, and where I know some people are purchasing at this very moment in time, and something you should consider as well. But there is more to than just looking at the specific data of property investing, right? You have to look at the qualitative data as well as the quantitative data. All right, guys, before I get any further, I do want you guys to smash the like button and subscribe button and share it with your friends and family, right? Under 140K is a company that helps you invest in property for under $450,000. I designed this company mainly to help young professionals because we can't buy property in New South Wales anymore, and we can't buy it in the Sydney, in the capital cities anymore, right? So we need to put our money to work for us in the best suburbs possible for as little capital as possible. And that's what I help people do. If you want to know more about suburbs and what suburbs I'm looking at, you should definitely subscribe to my newsletter. Just type in your email below. It's completely for free, and go check it out. Awesome. Let's get back into the video. And like I want to show you what the property prices are doing in Gladstone. So Gladstone, the property postcode is 4680, and don't even buy units, guys. To just don't go up in value unless you want to stay in Sydney and you can't afford a house. That makes sense. As I did the same thing. Right, all houses and three better houses. You can see that the prices have started to steep up at September, October, and has risen up almost 426 to about 4. So it's gained about 50K in about, I don't know, 6 months or so, 6, 7 months, which is a great gain. Now, this is good, and it's good to see this in the short term, which means that prices will most likely go up because the days on market is reducing, the stock on market is extremely low, which means that there's no supply and there's barely any vacancy as well. So that means you'll get a tenant almost instantly. It's all good signs for an investor to go in and purchase, right, on a very high level. But we need to look more deeply into what Gladstone is as a suburb. Back in 2011, almost 10 years ago, its prices peaked around $530,000 and started dipping after that. In 2013, we had a mining bust. And when that happened, Gladstone was a very mining heavy industry, and where investors went in and bought up property there, driving up prices because of the mining boom. And when that went bust, we can see that investors started selling off and property prices started dropping because the place held no more value. People were leaving the place, people didn't want to buy homes there, there were high vacancy rate, and prices started to drop almost instantly. If you're a very shrewd investor, you would have sold that property as soon as you know that mining was about to bust in that time period. And the reason they completely dropped is that when the mining bust, that Gladstone region, this area itself, heavily depended on the mining industry. So when a suburb or an LGA specifically is backed by a certain industry, when that industry collapses, that suburb itself will essentially collapse. And that's why those prices have dropped drastically. And you can see over a 10-year period, there's 0% change, which is a property investor you don't want. You want a 7% annual year-on-year change. That's what the average is, and you want to be beating the average as a property investor. But what's happening in Gladstone is quite interesting. And that's because Gladstone is beginning to diversify. And we're seeing the effects of that. We're seeing Gladstone change from a mining industry town to a more multi-industry town. And I'm going to break those industries down for you as well. And before I want to go any further, right, I want to say that Gladstone is a higher risk investment suburb, right? You've got other suburbs where people are buying property in places like people are buying in Rockhampton, which I'll go into deeper detail later in another video. People are buying in like Mackay. People are buying in Townsville, right? This isn't something new that I'm telling you. This is something that's available widely on the internet. If you just search up where people are investing, it will come up, right? It will come up. People are heavily investing in these areas, but people are very cautious of a place like Gladstone because of its cyclical nature, because it had a bust, because people lost huge amounts of money there. But the data is looking strong for Gladstone. And I want to go into a little bit more detail to help you understand, or help you even understand my thought process why I think Gladstone will do good in the short term. I'm a bit concerned about the extreme long term in about 15, 30 years or how it will do, but I know in the short term it will do good. And we want to see this. Right. Some people think that Gladstone is a mining town. It definitely is not. You can see that mining is a very small percentage, or it's about the second biggest percentage. Um, Mining is not as big as a influence on Gladstone as most people like to think. So where I am, I'm on ABS data, right? This is free. You can go and Google it yourself. Um, Take the link, whatever, right? So read the summary. You can see Gladstone. And what I like to look at is the economy and the industry because it's very important you understand what is happening, who is supplying the jobs, what are the businesses doing in that area, because they supply the economy. And if they don't have jobs there, then people can't move there, people can't live there. It's very simple, basic understandings, right? Okay. Right, and you look at the number of businesses by industry on the 30th of June of 2022. This data is a little bit old, but it's okay. It will do because it shows us a trend of what's positive, what's happening. Agriculture, it's remained steady. Mining, not as many businesses, right? Not as many businesses. There's more agricultural businesses. Manufacturing, it's a very strong manufacturing region. Construction, extremely high. Retail trade is all right. Professional is okay. And this is sort of the industries that are happening. The education is pretty low. Healthcare, it's okay, not great. But you can see it's mainly construction and manufacturing and agriculture. That is the industries that Gladstone has at this very stage. So that's in terms of the actual industry, what's happening there. That's the type of jobs people are doing. It's very blue collar work. Not many professionals there. Um, and people still think it's a bit risky, and I honestly think it's one of the higher risk suburbs out there. And this is sort of one of the things it does, right? Gladstone is an established industrial center with existing export facilities, including LNG gas, coal, and aluminium shelters, right? Heavy manufacturing, it has coal, it has LNG. Obviously, as a country, we're always trying to move away from coal power plants, but no, but not in any time soon, right? Heavy agriculture, and it's also got its own port, which is heavily being used. Right. All right. The power that Gladstone has is what's actually happening in its LGA, and the fact that the LGA itself, the council itself, is trying to lead an energy transformation. Now, has anything happened yet? Not really, but it's trying to. Right? It's trying to be the green energy hub of Queensland and possibly even Australia and being a leading force in that. It's moving to green, it has green hydrogen potential, right? It's going to be leading a lot of the hydrogen projects, which is a changing and growing industry. We know renewable energy is very, very important, and Gladstone is trying to become that renewable energy hub. And so if I pull out with this, right, they're trying to diversify their regional economy away from manufacturing and mining and construction to more of a they're trying to diversify into these things, right? This is their some on page 78, but you can download this again. It's completely free. This is nothing I paid for, right? It's a 10-year roadmap from 2022 to 2032, right? And if I go to 78, you can see that they're trying to diversify into recycling, expanding businesses to improve healthcare and well-being, right? So housing, education, mental health, childcare, improving those areas, agricultural and land use, continued agricultural, tourism will be a great industry to break into, transport as well, right? And training and education services. So you can see, um, and it's not even just that. When we got energy infrastructure, the region will require significant upgrades to energy infrastructure to support the growing renewable energy and hydrogen industries. This includes transmission infrastructure, battery storage, gas pipelines. Will not just create jobs in the short term for building all these projects, but will also create jobs in the long term. And if I go back to this, right, you can see here as planned assets, right? These are just planned. Anything can change, especially when governments change things can change. But for now, we know that Gladstone has the potential and has the planned assets for multiple solar farms, multiple wind farms, all throughout the Gladstone region, which means that will create jobs for the long term. It will still be blue collar work. It will not be professional work. It will be blue collar work, but it is still has large potential. And that's what we mean by when it's diversifying away from mining. If Gladstone was a mining town, I wouldn't even give it a second look. But personally, Gladstone is looking very, very investable at the moment. But I also want to give a bit of orange flag and a bit of history, right? Why you don't invest in a single resource industry, right? Back in that period of 2011 when the mining boom happened and people went and bought property in mining towns because that's where it was where you could make a lot of money. When you do that and when the economy is just on a single industry and you lose all your money in one go, this is what can happen because this is a real life story, right? I know, but Reddit is the source of truth, so you should definitely go check it out. This person 6 years ago, right? 6 years ago, what? That's 2018. I mean, it's not that long ago. They want to see a property bought at 600K in Gladstone and is trying to sell for 330 to 340. So that person has lost what? 300K odd of money if you include like stamp duty and stuff, things like that. Um, and everyone knows it's because of the mining boom, right? You buy on the back of a resource of a mining boom. This is what happens. You don't purchase in a suburb or a regional hub when it's just dependent on a single industry, right? So make sure you do your due diligence. I think even if you're not unsure of whether you'd want to invest in a suburb like Gladstone, um, think about it. You know what? I know this video is going really long, but it's okay. I want to keep giving you some more detail about it, right? Look at the suburb. Think about it. Okay, that'll be enough, right? Think about it. Gladstone is a higher risk investment opportunity. I think it has a great potential future in the short term, 1 to 5 years. With the way parties change and politics change, it can affect the future of it in 10 to 15 years' time. It's nowhere close to any CBD. It is a regional hub. It must sustain itself through its industries, and we want to diversify it as possible because that will sustain the population. Right. If you want a safer suburb to go invest in, you go into suburbs like Rockhampton and Townsville and Mackay. Those are the places which have economy diversified. They have a bigger population and are a bit safer to invest in. But if you haven't got the cash and you want somewhere a bit more riskier and want to take a chance, Gladstone's your man. All right. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to put it down in the comments below. If you have any thoughts, feel free to put it down in the comments below. If you want to challenge my views and my opinions, feel free to put it down in the comments below. I'm happy to answer questions at my own time and my own pace and my own leisure. I do this for work, so please understand if I'm not. I did write an article as well on Calliope, which is coming out next week, so definitely go subscribe. Yeah, so by the way, I do have a newsletter which releases a new suburb every single week about whether you should invest in, whether you should purchase in it, and gives you some advice. Completely free at the moment. It is a newsletter. You just go subscribe down, and you can go check it out and check my work out.